Umbungo. They drink it in the Congo, but not anymore because that's racist. But Umbungo isn't racist. You can still drink it with a clear conscience. This is all stuff we discovered in the past 5 minutes while warming up for this show. And what is this show? It is, of course, the D'Amato Files, episode 7, supposed to be coming at you end of July, but we're on a bit of a delay, so you're getting it like mid-August. And I'm Clive Davis. He is.
I'm Nick.
And him there.
Right.
Right, door. Now, so we've got quite a bit to get through this time.
Yes, yes, we do.
Because we fucked up a bit last time, and one of us ended up watching one, the other two didn't, and then two of us watched one that the other one didn't. So we've got 11, count them, 11 titles. Everyone a winner. I think you'll agree. So yeah, so we're 80. We're 81 to 83 here, and we might argue the toss a little bit here. Exactly what kind of got made first. We're going for a mix of release dates and then speculative. Maybe this actually got made kind of before, because there's kind of periods, right? So we'll kick off. We're at the tail end of the Alexander Borsky period, right?
Who's that now? Who's Alexander Borsky?
Well, it's a good question, because it's not a shoe-in that it's definitely Joe D'Amato the whole time, right? It could maybe be someone else.
But for the purposes of our discussion today, we hope it's Joe D'Amato, because we don't want to watch too many films for the D'Amato Files that aren't him. Although the one we're going to talk about right after this is possibly not him, right? Orgasmo,
yeah,
ESOTICO.
It's difficult to tell. Alexander Borsky seems to have turned into a bit of a house name, right? With a potentially a few, but even when
not household name, however. He wasn't broadly
unless you grew up in a really fucked up household.
All right.
The Massachusetts household, for example. But also, I mean, regardless, so he does seem to be, even if he does seem to have at least been on set shooting things. So he's there, and I'm sure he lent a hand every now and again. So, and they do feel of a piece, don't they? The Borsky.
Yeah.
The Borsky bunch, I guess you'd call them. So off we go then. VOGLIA di SESSO.
So this has got a Pauline Suture, however you say her name, or German blonde kind of milfy lady. We've got Laura Levy, my favorite Jennifer Grey kind of lookalike. And we've got Mark Shannon and his ballsack back yet again.
Yes, and there's another one from MAD, M-A-D films, right?
Okay, yes.
And we watched this in 2 versions, right? We had a 76-minute XXX version, which has the Emmanuel in America theme in it at some point. And then an 80-minute it seems to be from some internet streaming station, right? And once you get past all the logos, that runs about 80 minutes, and that's like the softcore version. So both the films play out more or less the same, except every now and again when one has hardcore, the other has an alternative. So for example, during Pauline Toucher going down on Mark Shannon in the hardcore version, maybe Laura Levy will just have a shower or something in the softcore version. So the one
It's
given.
like an elaborate view of the library in the softcore version. You just sort of more shots of the like going around the house. I know it's one of the books in the library with horror movies by Alan Frank. You know, you spot that?
Eagle-eyed viewer of Crimson there.
Yeah, you're the one with the like the skeleton at the end of Dr. Senna's House of Horrors on the
Yes.
cover. Yeah.
Also, as well, the softcore version has a lot more driving around in the countryside and walking around and shopping in some rather lovely looking old town. I don't know where they are, but is it supposed to be? Are they in France as well? I get the feeling that
Maybe.
So we should explain that we didn't have subtitles or an English dub for either version, right?
No, but there is a surprisingly decent summary up written by somebody who must understand the first language up on IMDb. So if you want, I can. It's only a few lines long, but I can read it.
Yeah,
real
go for
quick.
it. See how close I got with my guesswork to the plot.
Okay. Since Charlie passed away 1 year ago, his niece Romana and his daughter Francesca have been leading a solitary life, almost never leaving the house they've inherited, reading and playing the piano. Romana seems fine, but Francesca, being the younger, grows increasingly weary of the situation. She's in dire need of sexual activity.
This is Laura Levy, right?
This is Laura Levy, yeah. So when Roberto, an old family acquaintance, drops by to pay a visit, Francesca is all over him and invites him to stay for 3 days. Romana, though wanting to live in a romantic love for her late uncle Charlie. So this is a weird, that's a weird thing. She spends a lot of time, does Pauline, looking at this photograph of who I guess is her uncle.
This is the dude. He looks like he's like a pilot or something.
Yes,
he died in the war or something.
I would have thought he was a husband. But...
Yeah, I thought so as well. Yeah.
Me too. But according to this, they say
also I've seen this film before. When it's Mark Shannon, it's Patrick Swayze who comes in and teaches her how to dance against the express permission of her father, right?
Right. Yeah, that fella from Law and Order.
Yeah. And when he puts the law down, you listen, right? Because he's got the whole weight of the judicial system behind him.
Yeah.
Where the baby backs you into a corner or whatever,
So regardless of harboring romantic feelings for her late Uncle Charlie,
the pilot.
Yes, she fosters secret desires for Roberto as well. She has different things to offer than mere sex, including good food and conversation. A rivalry between the two cousins develops. How will Roberto cope with this situation?
It reminds me, because that's the things. Me and Gav, we have a similar relationship. We get on well, famously in the bedroom, but it's the conversation and Gav's fine cooking that keeps me coming back.
So that does seem like a fairly accurate plot synopsis of
yeah. The only thing I got the sense, does Mark Shannon get a little irate towards the end of the film? I get the feeling he was like a bit fed up, maybe
he's tired.
Make love with him all the time. So
he's constantly he's a bit like John or Harry Reams, he's getting a little tired of the whole thing.
And then at the very end, at least in one of the versions, we have a lengthy kind of pan across this old painting of like some sort of nautical scene, right? With people preparing boats and things like that. And that looked like it meant something, right? Because it's quite a long sequence in one version, at least. Like they really dwell on this picture, and looks like it might be some famous historical persons. I didn't recognize them. So any idea what that was about?
It might have taken the place of another scene of Laura having a shower in the case of needing to fill time in the softcore version.
So your plot synopsis says nothing about a sudden switch. See, because there's something about that photo that looks very specific, and then the Mark Shannon character fucking off suddenly, seeming to just drive off, right? You just hear the car in the background, and then a pan across this painting. So I reckon there's an extra little twist that we're missing here, but I'll be fucked if I know what it is.
But it also means that the girls are cousins, which kind of is interesting. Then
I understood that.
given that they are involved in a three-way at one point with Mark.
With cousins, it's fine.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, yeah. Don't you know that, Nick?
I wasn't aware of that rule. No.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's
no.
good. And they play spin the bottle.
Yes, there is a strip, kind of the striptease spin the bottle thing, right?
I mean, this seemed like, I don't know. I don't know about the softcore version, but if in terms of the hardcore, I think if you went along again in your raincoat in the early 80s to a theatre, this was probably had an utility, right? Beyond that, I don't know if it's of interest nowadays, really.
Yeah, I would agree. Gav, you going to say something there?
No, agree. Yes, does it?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's difficult for us to judge now in the sea of filth that we currently live. It doesn't really, stick out.
Right.
Once upon a time, if you were at a loose end of an afternoon and in need of a escape, you had a busy home life, the family all over, you sneaked off to town in your dirty Mac, and you were a Laura Levy fan. Probably did the trick. You went home energized, ready to deal with the rest of your family day, I guess.
Sure. Thanks for painting that little picture.
Thanks, man. I thought it was beautiful.
I'll say actually there was one scene that I quite liked, and it was the scene where Mark and Laura can't keep their hands off each other kind of during dinner.
Yes.
And for some reason that reminded me of being a teenager a little bit. That kind of like, oh, there's other people in the room, but like my hormones are just at a place where I'm gonna.
In the hardcore version, it's like she's full on jacking him off under the table, right in the trousers and down and everything. But in the softcore version, it's slightly more.
Yes.
You're forgetting as well, there's a scene where Mark Shannon comes on the camera lens as well, which is a nice little touch. Puts you there. Shame it's not in 3D.
Right.
Coming at you.
You have to go home and give yourself an eye wash. Get that salt out of there. All right, so are we on to what may or may not then actually be a Joe D'Amato film? The very strange. I would love to know what you guys made of what the hell is going on in Orgasmo.
Yeah, well, if you remember, because this is the one you missed out on seeing last time, and we deliberately made a point of, no, we can't discuss this without, because this is very fucking weird, isn't it?
What is this thing? And where's that music from? It's very recognizably, like it's like a Goblin adjacent or something like that. I
think it is at the very beginning. I think it is the Goblin Dawn of the Dead soundtrack, right? Just the dun dun dun. Just that is, and then it just turns into something else, right?
But there's a kind of like this kind of very frenetic piano piece.
Yeah, that's something else. I don't know what that is, but that's also recognizable.
I know this.
Yeah, I was hoping you'd know your horror needle drops, but you didn't recognize
it.
That's what you know what? I wondered that too, Gav. That's I think it might be the theme from Absurd.
Oh no, we have to watch Absurd again now.
Yeah, I think that might be exactly right, Gav.
We're doomed to a life of what's this music from, and having to go back. That kind of sounds right, actually.
So I noticed that, like, certainly on IMDb, everyone credits this to Joe D'Amato as it's just like it's like taken for granted somehow, and yet the person who's actually credited as director is a Mario
Siciliano. Yeah,
right.
Who was kind of more well known for like mercenary action films, right? Like Rolf, and which isn't the Rolf Harris biopic you've always wanted. It's and Skin 'Em Alive, and there's another one. Bringing it back to Mbungo, there's another one called Congo Hell, right?
Okay.
which is when you're force-fed umbungo for a week, I believe, to make
Right.
you talk. It's like
but
waterboarding with umbungo. Fuck, damn you.
but I did notice that there's nobody really recognizable except for Fernando Arcangeli as the assistant, the oh so camp assistant.
Clearly you didn't spend enough time in raincoat theatres back in the 80s, because Marina Hedman, who was a pretty big
But has she been in any of these other Joe DiMaro's?
no, you're quite right.
That's what's interesting to me. Like, none of the cast jumped out at me as being part of his repertory theater of the time, right? Except for Fernando, who we've seen in a couple of things, dancing outrageously.
So watching this the second time, I felt the need to actually write down exactly what happened.
Okay.
So I'm going to tell you.
Sorry. First of all, what's with this hologram video news story at the beginning of the tape, right?
Oh, I love that.
Which it sounds like it's the what's that song, like the French national, like the Marseillaise? It sounds like that's being played wrong somehow, over the top of, on a xylophone, over the top of maybe teaching you how to hook up 2 VCRs to illegally copy tapes.
Yeah, but don't do that. Don't do that. And then it's funny, the other thing is that I don't know if it's just because you know you're going to watch a bit of D'Amato porn as well, but like the woman introducing it looks like she's about to just take her top off, doesn't she? And it's filmed like, yeah.
Very weird, whatever that was.
Yeah. But anyways, so this is
dubbed into German. Sorry, this is also dubbed into German, which is worth noting.
So this is what happens in Orgasmo Esotico. I swear to Christ, this is what happens. Here we go. Right. Couple making love on a horrible rug. We should mention the rug because the rug returns again and again. So they're making out on this horrible rug. There's a thunder and lightning. Suddenly there's a home invasion. He's stabbed. A black woman turns up, Sonia Bennett. The woman faints and she puts her on the bed and injects her with something, which I think makes her horny. Meanwhile, the camp male assistant, Fernando Arcangeli, just kind of watches, and then they both fuck her. And then cut to chucking the husband or whoever is dead body in a well in the garden. Then they phone another house to say they're on their way, I guess. And then black woman and Sonia Bennett and Marina Hedman go to another nearby house in the country. They have a three-way with a doctor, maybe transistor radio.
Right, and that guy's maybe a doctor because
he could be.
Few words I heard that I understood.
I wouldn't like to speculate.
Okay.
He's killed. How? I don't know. Blink and you'll miss it. There's like, a scream, a gunshot, a bright red light. He's dead. They hide his body in the barn. Meanwhile, gay assistant minces about in the garden, dancing around. Right. Original dude returns as a zombie, the dead guy in the well. Then Sonia Bennett and gay assistant tie, I guess it's Marina Hedman, I think, to a table and put cigarettes out on her, and there's vibrator torture. Right. Cut to another couple in a different house, but they have the same horrible fucking rug.
Is it? I thought they showed up at that house looking for Marina and Giovanni, who are the couple from the beginning, and then the guy just helps himself to a drink, and they're kind of calling out to them.
I can only tell you what happened, Nick. This
okay, all right.
Testimony.
Okay.
They turn up there. He's possessed into killing her, and then him and the wife, who's actually not dead, and Sonia Bennett have a three-way, and then the gay guy walks in and watches them. Then they muck about in the garden and pretend to bullfight. Ole.
Yeah, hang on though. Before that, there's a scene where it seems like the black lady uses voodoo to asphyxiate the couple using some sort of fire log. What was that about?
I don't know. Again,
Okay.
I can only tell you what I saw, Nick.
Okay, all right. So okay, yeah,
then,
cut to the yes, the
But then a woman and a man with a mustache turns up at
what
this.
you didn't, sorry, you didn't mention that during this bullfight that it's engineered so that the girl will knock the guy again into the well.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, there was that. And then this dude in the mustache turns up. She goes in the house and gets attacked. He stays outside, but Sonia Bennett stares at him out the window. So he
Yeah.
sort of takes his clothes off and rolls around.
Yeah, was he really hot or
Uh,
really itchy? I couldn't quite figure out what was
Once
going
again,
on.
Nick, I can only tell you what happened. This is
Okay.
my eyewitness account of Orgasmo. So then the gay fella seems to be taking too much of an interest in this one of the wives. So so Sonia Bennett has her cooked and he eats her, it seems.
Yeah, yeah. It suddenly kind of takes like a sideways move into very John Waters-y to my mind. There's something, it got increasingly John Waters of that kind of era, the 70s era, in my mind. Anyway, but yeah, go on.
So
That's
then
it.
cut again. So there's a fresh couple of victims. Again, they seem to phone ahead. And they go visit this blonde, and yeah, they dance about on that fucking rug again. That's a horrible rug. Who would have that in their house? It's got this kind of like, I know we don't have high definition, but it looks like it's got like this chocolate chip. It just looks like it's just filthy, like it's seen a lifetime's worth of people vomiting on it or something, or it does
Crusty and kind of
yeah, it doesn't look hygienic, that rug. So anyway, and then they're dancing about, and then another man with a mustache turns up, and then he's possessed, and then he has sex with the Marina Hedman zombie character from the beginning.
Yeah, she suddenly looks like she's like Beetlejuice or something like that out of nowhere with like white face makeup.
Does
and
actually look exactly like Beetlejuice.
Yeah, it's a bit disconcerting because she gives him a blowjob, and it's not necessarily something that I was lusting after seeing. But
until you saw it, and then
until I thought, and I was like, oh yes, of course.
I hope this is in the new Beetlejuice film, the official one. Wasn't there a
Beavergism? I mean, I'm sure there's
Beetlegism
or Beavergism, or yes, fairly certain. There's a lot of suddenly like an axe getting held over his head when he's on the bed, mustache, kind of Joey Silvera.
Yeah. So she seems tempted to kill him a couple of times, but she's always kind of, oh, don't do, as if they've suddenly developed like a moral code after all this cyclical murdering and fucking people.
At what point did you give up trying to make any sense of this film?
Well, I'm still trying. I'm still trying. So then the original dead dude so this is this is when you get the notion maybe that this is the Kaiser Soze thing, right? And so the original dead dude is now alive and well in the garden, and Sonia Bennett is serving him, and she seems to be the maid, and then she's being consoled, I guess, because that guy's being a dick to her, by the gay mincing man who is now, I guess, the butler or chef or something. So it turns out that maybe this is all some sort of classist revenge fantasy, and then at the very end it kind of all starts again, right? I think I've done a relatively reasonable job of saying kind of what it all means or what the fuck exactly is going on. It's any thoughts, lads?
Yeah, if you want
to. It's a strange one. I'm surprised this one isn't that more well known though. Really, it's just it jumps from horror to porn. You know, pretty much every other scene, as opposed to something like Porno Holocaust. It takes about 70 minutes to get to the horror movie this month. completely jumping in and out of the two genres.
Yeah, no, I'm surprised it doesn't have more of a cult following as well. I'm wondering if it, and actually that's good. I'm wondering why it's never, no one's ever seen fit to make some subtitles for it or anything.
Yeah,
I think lots of people have made subtitles for.
Exactly. I'm surprised
Yeah.
because I wouldn't have thought there's that much in the way of dialogue or, I mean, and plus I don't think it would be any more, it wouldn't make any more sense, right?
No.
I don't think you'd suddenly go, I see, so he's an uncle and a pilot, and you know, I don't think there's any big revelations. That said, though, I saw this twice now. Quite fancy having another go at it one day because it is so bewildering and confusing and kind of enjoyable. Just because
some strange choices made. Like one of my very favorites is quite near the end. It's one of these scenes where there's this axe being held over this mustachioed guy, right? And then instead they go into a three-way. But then in the middle of the three-way, they cut away suddenly to our mincing friend who burns himself on the stove in the kitchen. He's like, ah,
yeah.
And then back to the sex scene. I was like, that's an interesting choice in like a. If you're again a porn punter of the early 80s in cinema, do you want your three-way sex scene interrupted by somebody burning themselves on a stove?
Well, in general, I mean, it's not. I can imagine, yeah, if you were a raincoater of this would have driven you up the wall, right? Because you would have been just on the edge of, and then suddenly something happens and you'd be totally thrown off your game, wouldn't you? You'd be constantly.
Yeah, it'd be a struggle.
It was made for the edges out there, right?
yeah, the edging community.
to just kind of make sure that because you've paid your movie ticket, you want to see the whole thing, right? Yeah. Because it does work on a loop, I suppose, if you just stayed in the theater and the second time round, your favorite bit, this time I'm gonna. No, there he goes. There's the gay man putting his hand on the stove again. That's not what I wanted. Oh, that's the scene you're waiting for. Or no, it's a very peculiar and yeah, I mean, could be. It doesn't really. It's not. I don't think we've seen anything this quite so surreal from him yet. Really, we've seen some weird things, but it's all been relatively prosaic compared to this. But then again, I don't know enough about Mario Solano other than his Mbungo and Mercenary films. He doesn't strike me as someone who makes batshit crazy films in general either. So I don't know. Something in the water. It's a mystery, this one. I'm wondering if we'll ever get a Severin Blu-ray release of this with commentary tracks and yeah.
Someone could dig it up. Definitely. You think all the significant Joe movies sort of resurfaced, but by now at this one, it takes you by surprise, really.
Yeah, because he's certainly involved in some capacity, right? I would say. So it's I agree. It's like the one, because I understand a lot of the other crap we've watched. Maybe no one's rushing to, it's kind of quite periphery. Yeah, but this one's deserving of a wider audience of people going, what the fuck is going on, right? Because maybe between us we can figure it out. Like you wrote before, Nick, about things needing like a support group.
A movie that you feel the need to share with other people.
Yeah,
only
we all stand up.
That you can start talking about it because we
all stand up. My name's Gav, and I watched Orgasmo ESOTICO, and
all right.
Yeah.
What are we on to
I do
next?
insist on it has to be the polygram version.
Oh, absolutely.
All the way.
I wouldn't have thought polygram was involved in part, but it seems to be a fairly mainstream video label, really.
German polygram.
Yeah.
See, there's a reason we fought a war. The filthy krauts. Yeah, okay. So
Okay. What are we on to next?
casual racism aside,
Mhm.
next we're on to, well, I don't know about you lads. I like love, like everyone
Okay.
else. And I like hard love,
Ah.
but most of all,
Mm.
I like super hard love.
Mm-hmm.
There we go. That was a good segue, wasn't it?
Nice. That was nice.
Again, we're a Borsky joint, I guess, whatever that means.
It means Laura Levy and Pauline Schuster will definitely be in this film. That's what that means.
Right.
And they are. This one had subtitles, which is kind of amazing.
Yeah.
Some fans of this one, but not the other one.
Yeah, I mean, who knows what the rhyme or reason here is. Also, our helpful in the know friend who has been leaving notes on these films over at the Internet Adult Film Database lets us know fake cream pie in scene 12 for this one. So, although I don't remember anyway.
Okay.
What happened here? So this seems to be.
This is the one where a bunch of folks go to a seaside hotel, right? Including, and so it begins with them like again, it's Laura Levy, and she's with a guy. They're driving a car, right? And then they meet Pauline in another car that's broken down.
That's right.
Go to this Hunter's Lodge. There's a murder there previously 25 years, or sorry, in room 15, which I do quite like that scene at the beginning where the guy comes in. He's really excited about this murder. It's Pauline's husband, right? And it turns out as the movie goes on, he's an inspector, right? He's kind of a Clouseau type of bumbling inspector figure. And then he's like, oh, you know, there was this murder in room 15 here. Do you know anything about this? And the hotel owner's like, yes, it was my wife.
That's right. And this was, this is the last of the mustachioed man from Orgasmo Esotico, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I do like so, and he is carrying on with like the maid here is quite an info, and he keeps getting interrupted from his blowjob by guests coming, and at one point he gets really frustrated. He shouts out, "I hope there'll be no more nut cutters."
Yes, I was wondering what a nut cutter was. I'm wondering if it was supposed to be nut job or if it's like they cut your nuts off just as.
I was thinking it's an early version of cock blockers, like it's like the antecedent, right? That later becomes cock blocker.
Or he's had too many nut cutlets in the recent.
I don't know what that is.
Oh, another nut cutlets for lunch again. Oh no.
And so yeah,
yes. So there's other guests, right? So yeah, it turns out there's more guests, including our old friend Fernando Autenti again, and he's part of a gay couple. So there's a gay couple there.
Yeah, they get into some very Judas Priest type of whips and leather shenanigans at one point.
And then we should mention the other major characters. There's a elderly woman who's there with her uncle.
Uncle Otto.
Uncle Otto, who is let slip at some point as a former Nazi. And then at some point in the film, he suddenly kind of comes to.
Yeah, because he's kind of shut down and he's non-verbal now and stuff, and some sort of war trauma. It
turns into a bit of a kind of door slamming farce, right? With the inspector going out to investigate this murder. He really wants to get the mess. And Laura Levy's had enough of him and she wants to act like another guy. And then the Nazi kind of, awakens and puts on his old, it's not a stormtrooper outfit, but it's some sort of Nazi regalia. And then he wanders about, everyone's wandering about in different rooms and having sex with different people. And then at the very end, he holds them all at gunpoint. And it seems as if he's going to force them all to have an orgy, right?
Yep.
And the film ends.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
But Sort of bit like, sort of bit sort of Russ Meyer, sort of with the whole Nazi thing at the end, the whole
Yeah, a bit, yeah.
sort of thing, yeah.
Except, like, take all the fun out of that Russ Meyer puts into it, like, get rid of all that good stuff. And yeah, no, super hard love, I guess. I don't know. Yeah, this is a kind of a peculiar film as well, but not quite, not fun peculiar as Orgasmo Esotico for me anyway. Just like yeah, like a weird, yeah, like a Run for Your Wife, or like this kind of farcical kind of thing, except it's not funny.
No.
It's just kind of weird.
My favorite scene in this whole film is when Uncle Otto, quite near the end, does get involved in a sex scene, which is surprising because he's looking like he's in his 70s.
Yeah,
right.
And it's proper hardcore.
Yeah,
scene.
like it's I was kind of like, oh Jesus, all right. But then they cut away from him engaged in this activity to this set of head bobbing toys on the mantelpiece. That are like, and then back to him having sex, and back to, and that was disconcerting. That was strange.
I tell you what that is, Nick. That's super hard love in action. Is what that is.
That's what that is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is this the last we see of Laura? I feel like for a while at least, maybe.
You miss her.
I do. Yeah, she was dependable, reliable. Or maybe I'm wrong. Maybe she shows up with something else. But I feel like this is kind of near the end of that set of actors.
Well, she turns up. She does turn up in Caligula somewhere, right?
Okay.
She's in an orgy scene in Caligula. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I don't know. Anything more to say about super hard love? Yeah, it does be. Yeah, it's random that this one has subtitles, but I'm glad it does. I wish more did.
Yes.
Okay, so that brings us to, I think next is oh God, I'm getting very confused here. It's Il Mondo Perverse de Beatrice, right?
I think so.
Okay, Il Mondo Perverse, right. This is the first one of this, so I'm gonna have to remind myself what happened here. What did happen in this one? Another Borski.
Hang on. This is the Beatrice. Sorry. I was just sorry. I just looked up out of interest, like the actor who played Uncle Otto, Spartaco Maggetti.
Yeah.
And he's only in like
name.
Yeah, I know. He's only in 5 movies, and all of them I think are porn. From 81 to 83. And then the first one he made in 81, Le Hereditaire Super Porno. He played
yes. We might be getting to that because that might be another one we've overlooked.
Oh, okay, great.
Yeah,
he plays a character called James Taylor, who I can only assume is the singer.
Yes, I think so. There's no doubt about it.
Okay.
It's the untold story of
Anyway, sorry.
Stay tuned. I do actually have a copy of that very soon on the way because I keep discovering new D'Amato films that may or may not be D'Amato films, but yeah, we'll get to that.
I feel like if you were walking to school, you would have trod in every pile of dog shit along the way. You would have gone out of your way. Oh, there's another steaming pile of shit. Let's get my toes in there.
You say such nice things.
Anyway, okay, sorry.
I'm still, well done. I mean, great, but you gave me plenty of opportunity to remember what the fuck happened in this. I still don't.
Sorry, yeah. So Il Mondo, I'm sorry, I'm going to find my notes here. Unless, do you remember?
A picnic.
Well, yeah, go on. Well, it's just ironic. The D'Amato films that have the word perverse in the title aren't really that perverse. I mean, it's sort of quite vanilla compared to how perverse these films can get. And the same probably true of Emmanuelle's Perverse Outburst as well. If you put the word perverse in the title, it means it's not actually going to be that perverse.
That's the perversion path.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Perversion isn't perverse.
I still don't remember what happened in this.
No, this is one that just I think it's really kind of a
Bob standard, yeah.
like porn, right? So
Nadine Russial, who returns in
Ange is in it, which is one of the few salient features. Ange Goren is back, and she kind of gets chased. Yeah, she gets chased around some picturesque Italian town by some mop top fella.
Because Kathy Dupre's in this one as well, right? You're not getting confused with Kathy Dupre.
I don't know. It really looked like Ange, but maybe you're right.
I think it's Kathy Dupre.
Okay, maybe it's Ange lookalike then.
And once again, someone in the know over at the IAFD, all the facials are fake. Except there's no, they're all interoral ejaculations, I think, which are easier to fix.
Yes.
So I'm slowly remembering this, but yeah, I think this was just pretty much a
yes. So I have here
house fucking and not much of this is
very run of the mill sort of stuff, yeah.
Yeah.
Very run of the mill, yeah.
Yeah. I have a note here that just says Blondie blorps a whole yogurt tube of fake jizz out of her mouth. So obviously
comes on the camera in this one as well.
Yeah. I just don't think there's much. And I also I thought really at this point the music has become just absolutely boring keyboard noodling, like meandering. Right. There's none of that driving disco funk exotica of the previous set.
I think apart from the Inge's vision, this was entirely unmemorable or let's move on. I don't think it's worth stressing the old noggin over that one. Which brings us to now we're getting more interesting, right? Although I don't know where we want to mention this, but seeing as we've got a few minutes here, this might be a good place to mention the unfinished D'Amato film that we never got, right?
Which might have been better than any of these, judging by the cast and the general idea.
Yeah. So this is Cannibal Love. To have starred George Eastman, John Morgan, who we haven't seen in a D'Amato film, I don't think, yet, coming over from Fulci World, Mark Shannon, Ange Goren, and Lucia Ramirez. This sounds like it would have been an interesting, I guess, a companion piece to Erotic Nights of the Living Dead and Porno Holocaust, maybe. But alas, I don't know much about, I don't know if either of you dug anything up about this. I don't know how far along they got into production, whether it was something they just planned to do and never did, or if they did shoot some, or I've no idea. But it's on the IMDb, weirdly enough. It has like a it has a page, but it doesn't exist, and it never did exist. It's not like a lost film. It's just it was never made. Whether it was begun and not completed, or I'm not quite sure. I've never really heard anyone have much to say about Cannibal Love.
I think it has an IMDb page though, really. It doesn't really exist.
Yeah, I don't know, because the IMDb has gone through different phases over the years. Like it seems to have become a bit more heavily policed in recent years, but I think back in the day it was easier for an overzealous fan to add
some sort of spoof things up, yeah.
Yeah.
For years there was a sitcom listed there called Oh No, It's Dedicated. Supposedly starred Robin Asquith, and that doesn't exist, but you know, obviously some joker put it up there and it stayed up there for quite a long time.
We live in a world where AI could make that reality. Yeah. Me and Darren and Nick have a whole roster of films that we've come up with that we're gonna make using AI once it becomes affordable. So we can throw that one on the pile. We can make what did you say it was called again? Oh no, it's Dedicated.
Oh no, it's Dedicated.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I'll make that. That sounds awesome. Okay, AI, make Oh no, it's Dedicated starring Robin Asquith. It'd be fascinating to see what it comes up with. And maybe we can get them to make Cannibal. Actually, I mean, scarily, if you gave that amount of information, if you said, okay, AI, make Joe D'Amato's Cannibal Love starring George Eastman, John Morgan, etc., it would probably come up with something
Oh yeah.
scarily passable, right? Yes, we live in interesting times. Right.
Okay.
Oh,
Oh yes, we can imagine what that might have been like, but it doesn't exist.
No.
So let's shuffle
But
on.
certainly what does exist. So we're getting on to the heavy hitters now, right? Caligula,
Okay.
the untold story, or Caligula 2, the untold story. So yeah, of course, Tinto Brasses, or Guccione, depending on your point of views. Caligula was I don't know, difficult to tell with Caligula. Was it a hit? I don't know. I guess maybe it must have been, right? It was not. Loads of people must have turned out to just see it, like as you would to look at a car crash or something, right? So it must have made money, I would have thought. Interestingly, it's back in theaters as well now, right? There's the new cut that's been made by a German Uber fan who's found all the old footage and Tinto Brass's original editing notes, and he's reassembled like a new cut of Caligula. Apparently Tinto Brass is like not well, right? He's still about, but he's not well enough to, I think he's got dementia or something, so he's like not that involved. But apparently it's very, have you seen the new cut of Caligula yet? I think you, Gav, at least might have a chance to be able to go and see it in a theatre. I think it's getting a theatrical release in the UK.
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, so there you go. You can be our roving reporter. Get yourself along to see the new version of Caligula. Yeah, so of course Joe D'Amato decided to cash in with his own version of the Little Boots story. Instead of Malcolm McDowell, we have David Brandon,
Irishman.
Yeah, he's quite good, I thought.
He's not. Yeah, he's not bad.
He's
he
got
kind of,
a smarmy enough, naturally smarmy face, doesn't he? Like,
yeah, I feel like if you were to have had like a milkshake made of maybe young Klaus Kinski, Chris Sarandon, maybe a few drops of the young Tim Curry, and there was somebody else who maybe Udo, maybe a squirt of Udo in there.
You
mix them
keep
all.
your squirts of Udo to yourself, young man.
But yeah, he has some of that kind of that kind of sensuality of the lips and the
yes. But
something
something
in that
unsavory as well, right?
Yes.
Like, yeah. No, it's a good bit of casting. I think it's probably the film's, like, and not to overstate it, it's not like it's an amazing performance, I think, but it's just he seems so naturally right for the part. I think the film kind of lives or dies on your Caligula, right? And they're lucky enough that they got a good Caligula, right? Like,
yes,
wouldn't, like, imagine if they'd have cast Miles O'Keefe or something, like it just wouldn't have worked.
no,
right?
No.
He just hold his own against the Master All-Stars.
Yeah. I mean, Miles O'Keefe only just keeps ATOR together, right? So Caligula, I think, have been asking a bit too much. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, there's not much point going too much into a plot. It's basically, it's the Caligula story, right? Yeah, Caligula's a fuck and eventually gets done in, of course. And yeah, it's just a episodic kind of bunch of him doing horrible things to people. I suppose there's a little bit of a kind of thread. Laura Gemser's character wanting to take vengeance for Livia, as played by the fantastically naked Fabiola Toledo, who would later turn up in Demons. Yeah, very
Okay.
very glad to see her in this. Very easy on the eyes as Livia, and yeah, so there's a revenge thread going through it, right? But basically, it's episodic. Yeah, well, episodes from this vile man's horrible
What's
reign.
interesting is it kind of like I suppose the Tinto Brass version, but obviously even more so, it could have gotten away with not being hardcore, right? But then it suddenly goes hardcore, right? There's like at the beginning of the film, it takes a while before suddenly we're like, oh, we are getting into full on porn territory for chunks of the film. But they did feel like they could have been filmed.
Excised.
Yeah, quite easily if they were, if it was necessary, right? And the film wouldn't have suffered from not having that stuff.
Yeah, so I did watch, I don't know if either of you did this. So Severin have, of course, put out the ultimate
Right.
edition of this recently. So to your point, I did watch side by side, I did watch the Italian 121-minute version and the 95-minute US cut. Was anyone else foolish?
No, I didn't actually. No, I just watched the Italian.
Okay, so yeah, so there's 26 minutes difference, and yes, the majority of it is hardcore stuff, especially when we get to like an orgy auction scene. Yeah, there's an awful lot of hardcore stuff, and of course, there's more stuff with the horse. So in the US, and it's still surprising for the US version that it is still intimated that a woman has sex with a horse, but in the Italian longer version, there's like a lengthy scene of her actually jacking off a real horse, which I know is Nick's favorite scene in the film, I believe. He's got some gifs made from it that he sends out to people.
Yes.
He is a keen equestrian. Is so yeah, so there's that, and there's a few other bits and pieces and a lot of little snips here and there, like nothing apart from the hardcore. I would say there's not much in the Italian and US. There's not much difference other than, so yeah, if you're keen on showing Caligula and Told Story at a children's birthday party or something, you're all right. Go for the US cut. You're not missing that much other than the hardcore, so it's fine. Other than that, it would play well for the 5 to 15-year-old demographic. A little younger than that, I don't think they'd understand. They wouldn't follow the story. But no, I mean, if you're talking, rip-offs of major and all kind of flawed major films as well, right? I mean, Caligula, the Untold Story stacks up pretty well next to the Tinto Brass, don't we think? I think. What do you gents think about it? I think this works really quite well. It's like
I think it does everything that the Tinto Brass film does, but just with a lot less force and maybe a lot less budget. Yeah, but
yeah.
Let's use everything that the big budget version does.
Nick, thoughts?
Yeah, no, I would agree. It's funny, I was just thinking about the fact that like this is a film, as I said, that has some actors in it that you don't see in other porn films, right? Like Charles Borromel, who funnily enough played Caligula several years before this in one of the 60s Umberto Lenzi, like Richard Harrison, like Ultimate Gladiator type of films, right? So it's weird to see a previous Caligula playing, and then
and Pauline Tetchler and Laura Levy turn up in the orgy scenes as well, because obviously they can handle the hardcore stuff.
Yeah,
and it's funny. I thought it worked quite well as well, because sometimes it's just gratuitous, or I don't know, it is gratuitous. Don't get me wrong; it's all about being, but it's a film about Caligula, so you have to kind of be gratuitous and decadent, otherwise there's no point, right? But when that orgy scene does happen, it does have that. I thought it had that. It's quite well, like it has that cumulative effect, because as well as that,
gross when people start throwing up into
there's people throwing up, and people
Quite
getting
foul.
splattered with blood when there's like
Yeah, from the
gladiators
gladiators.
fighting. Yeah, like it's a proper. It really puts you in that horrible, stroke, wonderful, decadent kind of, and then the horse comes in, and you're like, oh, hang on, and yeah, it's just, I think it matches its subject matter. Like, this is an odd thing to call Caligula the Untold Story, because it is deeply sleazy, and I guess for normal viewers they wouldn't have anything to do with it, but for damaged individuals like ourselves, I would say it like it's not, what's the right, it's not inconsistent with its subject. Like, obviously it goes up to the line, it steps over the line maybe even in some ways, but it seems to me like totally consistent with what this, like, it's almost, it is gratuitous, but it's almost like, do you know what I mean? Like, I don't feel it gives you,
Right.
it gives you exactly what this story should give you, and no more. It's exactly bang on the. I saw this years ago, but seeing it again, I was really quite impressed. Like, it's like a proper film, but with horses being jagged off and people with spears shoved up their asses. And
yeah, that was quite an intense scene.
Yeah.
As well as the scene near the beginning where that guy has his tendons all severed and his tongue cut out.
Yeah.
Which was like, Jesus. A bit disappointing not to have Derek Jacobi playing Claudius. When you know.
Yeah, do you know? Yeah, Claudius does turn up at the very end, right at the beach.
Yeah.
And Michael Suave is in it, or Michel
Yes.
Suave. He's the guy who
Which
gets the tendons cut, right?
Oh, okay, okay, yes.
I think,
Now that you say that,
yeah,
that makes
the
perfect sense.
assassin at the beginning, isn't he? Yeah. What did you make of this one, Gav? I'm assuming you must have seen this before.
I think it's like years ago. Someone like I bought a bootleg video nasty or something. That it'd been recorded onto a 3-hour tape, and right at the end of the tape was the entirety of Caligula the Untold Story. It's really awful, like black and white copy of it. I'm sure it must have been heavily cut. Like, there's like so many things in this version I don't remember. Whatever version that was, yeah, I think it holds up well. I think, would it be right to say this is the last really infamous Joe D'Amato film? One that's, I don't think anything after this really was of the same amount of controversy.
Yeah, I mean, because it would have played. We're getting towards the end of the era of this kind of thing being played in theaters, I suppose, as well, right? Like the fact that this would have been projected is kind of amazing, really. I first seeing this, it was either me or Darren actually got a bootleg from the Psychotronic shop in London back in the day, and I think it was, I don't think it was actually as long. It was the version that was then considered the longest version, but I think then it was only about 100 minutes or something. It had hardcore stuff in, but I don't remember it being 2 hours.
Apparently had a British theatrical release in about 1984, but
wow,
heavily cut, I'd imagine.
Yeah, it probably played as a supporting short, I would have thought.
Yeah. But I don't think it ever made it to video over here.
No. Ups and downs of a handyman plus short, Caligula, the Untold Story. I mean, no, I genuinely, it's weird. It's like, it's a period of time that I think we kind of just missed out on a little bit, where, yeah, this kind of thing could have played the inside of a theater and was kind of just on the edge of respectable, I guess.
Not in Ireland it couldn't, Clive. I'm gonna go out on a limb that the place that I grew up, there would have been, Father Ted would have been out there with his, careful now sign.
Yeah, down with this sort of thing. Yes. But no, I mean, we should mention as well, written by George Eastman. Yeah, I don't know. I'm just genuinely, like, it is another example of just like when Joe D'Amato wants to make like just a really good film, he can do it, right? Like he brings it in spare. And I was watching the interview stuff on there as well on the disc. George Eastman claims that the horse and stuff wasn't in his script, right? That was all D'Amato who added that stuff. There's also an interview with Mark Shannon, because that's the other thing, Mark Shannon's in it, and it really strikes me in this film with a beard how much Mark Shannon looks like Joe D'Amato. Like because Mark Shannon's one of the plotters, right? Is he a grip? He's one of those bunch who get spears up their ass when the plot is discovered. But when Mark Shannon first turns up, I was like, oh, Joe D'Amato's in this. Like he's giving himself a little cameo. And it took me a while to, because at a certain point I'm like, oh, Joe D'Amato's just got his cock out and he's fucking someone. And then I realized, oh, hang on, that's Mark Shannon, isn't it? Don't you think he looks?
I didn't even recognize him.
I
didn't even recognize him as being Mark Shannon. So there you go.
You were entranced by the horse, of course.
What the fuck, Clive? Anyway.
The only man I know who has to watch the Grand National alone.
Sweet Jesus. Oh, you've distracted me enough now that I've forgotten what I was going to say. Thanks for that, Clive.
Yeah, no. But I don't know, I'm not getting... I feel as if I'm very enthusiastic about this, and both of you don't seem that...
Well, no. I mean, I think it makes sense. Like you said, the subject matter lends itself to an exploitational treatment because it's exploitational subject matter, right? I mean, even when I think about I, Claudius, right? One of the most shocking scenes in that is John Hurt's Caligula, like cutting the child out of his sister's womb and eating it, right? That's I mean, which is in some ways maybe worse than anything that's in this, and that was a made-for-television, like BBC.
Yeah.
So if you're going to do the Caligula story, clearly, you know, you go big or go home, right? And definitely that's what Joe has done here.
It's interesting as well because there was a whole rush of other Caligula films as well, right after this one, right? So I think this was probably first out the gate, and then there was a mini
Caligula mini boom.
You could have a little mini Caligula film festival. I think there's at least another 3 or 4, right?
And there's also Mezzalina, which was made on sets, right? On Tinto's sets, like at night, kind of a thing. Like they snuck on and like banged out, and that's got the great Thomas Millian in it. So
yes, I knew you'd get him in there somewhere. There's that outrageous kind of comedy gore scene with people like slipping in blood, like it's a Keystone Cops meets Peter Jackson kind of. But no, I think this is like, I mean, I don't know if we'll do it at the end when we do our roundup, if we have fit, but this has got to be
top 10
ATORs, right?
Right. There's also a nice line where one of the rebel senators says of Caligula, he believes himself a god. He creates disasters just to revel in the chaos, which did make me think of a sack of orange tangerines running for president right now.
There we go. We're getting some satire.
I don't think there's anything funny about the situation. But
yeah, note to any snipers: don't fucking miss next time. Thank you. So we're
going to be cancelled now, Clive. Like as if that would be the thing we get cancelled for.
Yes, not your equestrian proclivities. So. Phil, so this is the thing, I'm not quite sure, but I'm assuming our Virgin for the Roman Empire and Virgin for the Roman Empire 2 must have been kind of shot. So Caligula 2 is shot at the tail end of 81, released beginning of 82. I'm thinking these two must have been...
Yeah, the costumes were around, the sets were there.
Yeah,
and let's bang out 2 more hardcore films real quick. You know, with the same, some of the same.
One of which, oddly enough, the sequel we have subtitles for.
Yep.
Very dodgy old Video Search of Miami print, which oddly enough has a sequel at the beginning.
You need to put very dodgy before Video Search of Miami print, or is that not fucking
video? Yeah, that's true.
It's the Video Search of Miami print, folks.
Yes, I was gilding the lily somewhat there. Yeah.
Yeah, it looks strange through grey soup.
You don't understand what people are saying, but you can't necessarily see them very clearly.
They just such a movie presented by the man who couldn't even be bothered to watch the films that his own company put out and get the plots right. I wonder what old Thomas Weiss is up to nowadays.
Being insulted across the
By
world on
people, yeah,
video
I think so.
podcasts like this.
Well, I think if it's me, for example, but it's that weird tempered by fuck you, but I still use your books.
We all have the books.
Yeah, they're still useful as well. They're still useful, but what the fuck?
I've got the spaghetti western one where some fairly standard, everyone's seen them spaghetti westerns. You read the plot description, you're like, none of this happens. None of these people. Yeah.
Clint Eastwood is a merchant sailor who arrives in town. But no, but at least with the macaroni western stuff though, like that stuff's just been overwritten. You can throw away, even though it probably costs $1,000 to buy a copy. But you can, I have a copy which is all scribbled over. But you can chuck your Thomas Weiss. But when it comes to like the Japanese Cinema Encyclopedia books, especially the sex films one, you still need that. You still need that, if for nothing else than the index of original language titles at the back, and then you go, it takes you to the review, which is entirely wrong. But at least it's a toehold, right? And then you have to go away and do your own research. And so I still use that. Like that's right in front of me now. It's fallen to bits. It's in about 6 different pieces, how often I use it. But it's so wrong. Like every time I see a film, it's no, that didn't happen at all. Anyway, we digress.
Okay.
So Virgin for the Roman Empire, no subs. Virgin for the Roman Empire 2, Orgiastic Boogaloo with subs. Both starring Nadine Russell. With our own...
not as the same character. It took me a few moments of watching the second one to realize that they're actually.
He's Messalina in the second one, right?
Yeah, that's not. The first one seems to be about like two or like a woman gladiator, basically, right? Like a woman wrestler.
The first, again, is difficult to tell because both films didn't have subtitles, but is A Virgin for the Roman Empire not kind of a hardcore update of D'Amato's earlier Diary of a Roman Virgin?
I don't know if it is, because I don't like, was she a
She was a gladiator, wasn't she?
Was she a gladiator? Okay, well then maybe it is then.
Yeah, I think so. It's been a while. It seems like about 1,000 years ago since we watched those early.
I just remember all the cribbed footage of like Pompeii exploding. That's all I can remember from that film.
But certainly it was a story about a slave woman using her sexual wares to slowly rise up and.
I just don't remember her. I don't remember her being an arena fighter the way Livia.
Yeah, they might. I don't know. I seem to remember there was something about that in there, but it's certainly adjacent. Let's put it that way.
Okay.
Other than that, I mean, yeah, it's much cheaper, even though it seems to have some of the same sets. I think like one set, like well, at least the curtains were still.
Maybe a pillar.
They pulled everything else away. Yeah. I mean, again, difficult to judge, no subs, but yeah, pretty bog standard porn, I think, isn't it? This first one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I struggle to say much more. Yeah, like you said in the second film, now she's Messalina, and there's like a power struggle with, I think it's Pauline Tucci plays like this masseuse whose job seems to be just to sexually frustrate centurions by having her come in, and she demonstrates something, and then just as they're all getting really excited, okay, go.
Yeah, lesson's over.
Yeah. And one dude always gets left behind to satisfy her, right? And someone's referred, I wasn't sure, at some point someone comes in from the Orient, gets referred to as a Thai bitch, and I'm not quite sure what all that was about. But yeah, again, it's a lot of jockeying for power with hardcore.
And Derek Jacobi is in this one, which is great.
Yeah, absolutely. He's yes. In fact, I believe he was assistant director. So
Right. Yeah, because he gets a good line where he goes, "I am a cuckold emperor," after he finds out that Messalina's been screwing around
Right.
behind him. But
But-
yeah, I mean, it's funny
yeah.
because some of this is based on historical, well, record, right? I mean, that Messalina did marry some other guy publicly while Claudius was off somewhere else, and then so
Yeah.
there's some. I just the only thing I remember is there's a lot. This is the first movie that seemed to have like not a fluffer, but like a dick dabber. Like there was an extra woman in some of the scenes whose job was just to kind of come in with like a roll of paper towel, kind of, and be like, "Just gonna dab off any moisture on your cock there, sir." Or, that was weird.
Dabber. Yeah. Wow. The the James Bond knockoff you didn't know you wanted. Yeah. If you need help, and if you can find him, you can call on Dick Dabber.
Oh, also, this is the one where Messalina uses pussy poison, and then
That's right.
invites
Yes.
people to go down on her, and then they choke to death on. Yeah, that I've never seen that before. I don't think I've ever seen that in any film.
Really? I was watching and thinking, oh, this old. Yes. So clearly we've been watching very
different films. I'm
films.
thinking so.
Yeah. While you've been watching Black Beauty and National Velvet, I've been watching other things.
I will say as well, also, this is a scene where occasionally
I'm keen to push this narrative.
I can see that. This is also where occasionally people come in with chalices to collect sperm, again, for reasons that are left unexplained.
Yeah. Yeah, that didn't really go anywhere, did it? I was hoping for a, Shuttle Japan style drinking scene, but there was nothing like that.
No.
Like that.
It still seemed to have a bit of a sense of humour to itself, though, didn't it? As opposed to something like Caligula the Untold Story. Didn't they character in one called Grand Cactus as well?
Oh yes.
Yeah.
And also, actually, there's quite a funny scene where a bunch of the centurions suddenly start wanking behind their shields, and their shields start kind of like going. I would say something out of an Asterix, like one thing, maybe not an Asterix comic.
I was going to say you had some pretty wild Asterix comics in that Ireland.
Well, you did have the uncensored, straight from France.
You had that character. We didn't have Jack Offitix. Wasn't in the. Careful now.
Anyway, yeah. Of the two, whatever semi-sequels to Caligula, I guess, or whatever, shot on the same sets. I think that's the better. This is the better one. The Messalina one is the
damning with faint praise. Right? Of all the rip-off shot on the same scene, Caligula was like, this is the finest. Look no further.
We done with that?
I think so, because it's time to enter the land of Ator.
Oh, okay.
Oh, Cav's not keen. Son of Torin. I have a nephew called Torin who's currently in New Zealand.
Does he drop his pants and beat off into the wind and allow his seed to be dispersed so that it might impregnate any women who happen to be in the area of the breeze?
Of course he does. He's my nephew.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, excellent.
Taught him well.
Because that's my favorite line of this whole film was that Torin threw his seed upon the wind, and lo, Ator was, yeah.
So we're in an age of darkness, the age of the kingdom of the spider, right? Which I don't remember learning about in history class, but then again, they missed out a lot of stuff. We didn't do Byzantium, and we didn't do Kingdom of the Spider. We didn't do Mesopotamia, so there's a lot of chunks missing from. So it's good that films like this exist to fill in the gaps in our education. So in the Age of Darkness, we've got Dakar, who talked about a lot when we did our Lenzi films.
Yes, nice to see him back.
Yeah, in his last film, right?
I didn't know this.
His final film, although he didn't die for a while after this. It was just his last film, and then he died.
Was it because
Quite a
James
while
Earl
after.
Jones, did James Earl Jones take out an injunction against him or something like that, saying, please
No,
don't.
Nick, you must be wrong about that, because that would
Okay.
make people falsely think that this might have been rushed in production to compete with the Conan films, which I don't think that's the case. I think it's entirely coincidental.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah. None of that scandalous rumor here.
Okay.
Yes, and Dakar, who's amusingly kind of covered in tarantulas in the entire
Yeah. I wondered how comfortable he was
He
with
seems all right.
right, because they're always like on his face
Yeah.
and on his arms and stuff. Yeah.
To be fair, if they were defanged or without poison or whatever, I've always quite fancied having a tarantula.
I've held one.
Yeah,
in my...
yeah. I wouldn't like cockroaches on me, which are, of course, non-deadly, but that would freak me out more than a lovely little furry tarantula. That seems all right to me. But yeah, Dakar seems quite, yeah. So he's got these tarantulas, and yeah, there's a prophecy. And
yeah, there's a very good, portentous, lengthy spoken word, voiceover at the beginning.
you've got to have a good, long, pretentious for this kind of film, right?
I'm sure it's, again, not at all inspired by anything that John Milius might have done around the same time.
I think that John Milius is a shameless rip-off artist and Massachusetts fan who rushed Conan into production.
Could be. Yeah. I will say, whoever did the score to this does a pretty good job of doing a kind of a Basil Polidorus adjacent kind of thing. More so than the sequel, which gets much more synthesizer, but this actually has a proper orchestrated booming.
Once again, you're talking about that thief Basil Polidorus who copied ATOR. Yeah. About time that this was unmasked, right?
Okay.
Yeah. So there's like a kind of Herod style kind of going out to kill
the babies,
firstborn, to kill the babies. But he's rescued by none other than our old friend, Edmund Purdom,
in quite a wig.
Who appears to be playing either Sonny Bono or Jason King, eccentric millionaire. Right?
Or maybe also a little bit of Derek Smalls out of Spinal Tap. He does have this kind of thing going on. Yeah.
No, Edmund Purdom is I mean, he seems to be having a good time, but I'm looking at him on screen. I'm wondering if he's thinking, fuck, I need to go make that Killer Santa film. That's what I need to do. Like, it's in the back of his mind while he's on the set of ATOR. Oh, we forgot to mention it's ATOR the Fighting Eagle, right? Or ATOR l'Invincible, the first of the ATOR series. Yes, so and Edmund Purdom gives ATOR to some simple folk.
Not before putting some talc on his little breasty, the mark of him being the son of Thorin, right? He vanishes with talcum powder somehow.
Yes. Talcum powder comes in useful. It's a variety of uses. And he grows up to want to fuck his own sister. But
I think he's been watching a lot of Pornhub, I suspect. So the whole, that makes sense.
But it's all right because she's not his sister, so it's fine.
No, she's his stepsister, which absolutely makes it a Pornhub.
Nick, again, how many times do I have to tell you this? We're in cousins territory again. This is fine.
Right.
Don't worry about it.
I do like that he just attempts to explain to his dad.
Dad, yeah.
So I understand that our people have this taboo, but I don't get it. And then his dad's like, "Oh, I'm so happy you brought this up, son.
Yes,
you can totally bang your sister.
Yes, it's fine. She's not just it's good. All those years of thinking of her as your sister, put them away, son. Have at it."
They understand.
It's all good. It's all good. Yeah. So and also he has a cute little bear.
Oh, that bear is the MVP of this film. That bear is, he's a lot of added value to Baby Bear running around the place.
Now remind me, I used to know what MVP was.
Most valuable player. It's a sports thing.
It's a sports. There we go. Okay. Yes. No, the bear. I thought the bear would be put in danger at some point in the film, but no, never. The bear's always just.
Well, maybe by whatever white shit they've sprayed on his head, that probably wasn't good for him. But yeah.
Anyway, the incestuous ATOR. Yes. Eventually, yes, it is. Of course, his. So he goes on a. Yeah. So there's a series of quests, and
well, his village is attacked, right? Which is as you would expect, and is like Uncle Ben and his Aunt Beru or whatever the fuck they are. They get killed.
Yeah, very camp wedding ceremony.
Oh, that choreographed dance is awful.
Yeah, it's like it's like suddenly the kids from Fame or something were on set that day, and Joe D'Amato was, hey, kids from Fame, you want to choreograph my wedding ceremony? And they're like, gee, Joe, we'd love to. And yeah, no, I was quite taken aback by quite how gay and pink this wedding ceremony is. And oddly enough, actually, after that, the whole thing clicks into place, and then you realize how massively camp the entire film is. Like,
right,
this is you don't quite get it at first, and then I like, oh, okay, yeah, no, this is if you're coming at this could play a queer festival quite happily, right? Like,
yes, that's true. Yeah.
So he's kidnapped, but then of course, so it's
the stepsister, sexy stepsister is kidnapped, and then he goes on a quest to get her, but immediately bumps into Purdom again.
Yes, who trains him, right?
Yes, in a cave. He's got like his own Batman cave with a bunch of like suits of like supervillains that he's fought in the past, which is kind of awesome, actually.
Yeah, no Santa outfits on the wall.
No, or nothing from Pieces in there, sadly. And then
they've got it. Yeah, so they've got the sister out of the way, and then, but luckily, I mean, enter Sabrina Siani.
Yes.
Who, motherfuck, this must have been one of the sexiest women in cinema at the time. Like, I don't know. I've always had a bit of a thing for. There's something about Sabrina Siani which is just like, she really heats up the script. Even though she's got a slightly like Hamdare and Digby kind of slightly not to throw shade, because I think she's supremely smoking hot in all her films, but particularly in this one because she's barely dressed as well, right? So I'm always pleased to rewatch Sabrina, because I think I've seen all of her films at this point several times. But yeah, so she kind of, for me, she overtakes at this point. Like the rest of the film I couldn't really give a fuck about because Sabrina Siani is there, so that's good enough for me. But you do have some. If
she puts the Barbie in Barbarian, I think.
Yes. Yes.
Right.
That's very good. That's very good, Nick. Did you just come up with that, or have you been?
I did, but I think that she's kind of like she looks kind of, in a way, she looks like a kind of a. She doesn't look she's Italian, but to my mind, she looks more like she's just walked out of a mall in like, somewhere in California. Like she has this real kind of like beach bimbo.
Oh yeah, you could have cast her in like Clueless or something, right?
Oh yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But Clive pauses because he's fantasy casting her in Clueless with Silverstone, and another one of Clive's.
I'll be back in a few minutes. But just in case Siani is not your thing, you also have the Land of the Walking Dead. There's a visit to the Land of the Walking Dead, who conveniently just kind of disappear after a bit, right? Like they're not that much of a threat.
No. Is that when he finds then, because he does find Laura Gemser, right? Who's whose hair is like normally we see her with kind of, you know, in all of the other Emmanuelle films we've seen up until now, kind of just beautifully black, kind of straight. But now she's got it teased and hairsprayed out to this massive mane of like, she looks like Blackie Lawless out of Wasp or something. It's a very 80s kind of hair metal-y look that Laura's rocking in this thing. And again, they ripped this whole scene off in Conan the Barbarian, right? Where
That's right, they do, yeah. Shameless.
Yeah.
John Milius should be ashamed of himself. It's time to fess up, John. So yes, and yeah, so there's that whole bit, and there's quite a good bit. I quite like there's a bit where they have to go through like this cave of blind blacksmiths and forgers.
Yes.
To get a shield.
Who you know, all those wigs they're wearing came straight off of whatever cannibal film that had just wrapped somewhere, because they're exactly those like
Ramones haircuts.
Ramones shit cannibal wigs you see in all of those films. But yes, I like they rub themselves with some ferns because apparently that like because the blind men live by their noses, right? So
yeah, and then eventually we do get like, well, it's a bit of a shame because there's a giant spider, which.
Yep.
In HD, you can see the wires, it is worth saying, but it looks kind of halfway decent, giant spider prop, but they never show it properly, right? You just get like the what are they called? Legs. Yeah, you get the legs, and then you get like from behind, and then you get Miles O'Keefe poking at it with it. But you never get a full-on like giant spider invasion Volkswagen Beetle with pipe cleaners attached to it, like master establishing shot. That's the one thing missing. I think if you'd have just had, it doesn't matter how shoddy it looked, just like one, you know, shot of the giant spider in all its glory, would have helped, I think. But they shy away from it. So yeah, I mean, it's a bit slow, isn't it? Would you say?
Yeah.
Gav made a horrendous face when we first mentioned the title. You didn't get on with it.
Well, no, I held its charm, but I do remember sort of avoiding these sort of films like The Plague through the VHS.
Well, this is my question to you then, so for context, because the thing is, me and Nick, we're actually suckers for this kind of thing. We actually seek out, films that Conan ripped off. So are you not in the Conan rip-off fan club in general then?
No, not really. I do remember these from the video shops though, the covers and that, but I never rented them, I don't think.
Then
I think yeah. It does have a charm.
Yeah, it does. I mean, we'll get to that. Well, actually, we might not, because I think the third one, which is the first one I saw, the third one of the series, Iron Warrior, I don't think that is Joe D'Amato, right? I think that's
no, it's not
the one that someone else made. And I remember first seeing that, like, that was one of the very first films that I saw late night on television after I arrived in Tokyo. And that's when you start to relax into your new home, right? Is when you catch up with late night TV and you're like, okay, good. Now I can relax. They have crappy films on late night TV here as well. I'm okay. I can survive. I can live in this strange environment. Yeah, but I don't think that is, although I'm guessing now in retrospect, I think it must have lots of footage from the other ATOR films in it. But yeah, we might watch Iron when we get to Quest for the Mighty Sword, which is the fourth one. Maybe we might have a look at Iron Warrior just as a bit of homework.
Is that fourth one the one that's also known as Troll 4?
Yes.
Yes. That's the D'Amato one, and then he skipped the third.
And that's not got Miles in it.
Yeah. So as slow as it is, and not as slow as the sequel, though, we'll get to it. One thing I will say in its favor is it does, I would argue, it does have a slightly authentic Robert E. Howard vibe to it, like the whole thing about the giant spider and the walking. You know, it seems like someone who has actually read
Mm-hmm.
Conan short stories. Like they know what it is.
Yes, yeah. There's kind of that slight horror trappings, which was always a part of those as well, right? Like with zombies and witches and stuff. And
Yeah.
the big eagle that cries blood for some reason connected to the prophecy. Yeah, it's all kind of a piece. And I'll say this for Miles O'Keefe. He may not be a great actor, but he certainly is a good action figure. Like he looks like he could have played He-Man, as well as Dolph Lundgren. Like
Well, I'll tell you this for nothing. Sabrina Siani could definitely have been She-Ra, Princess of Power, because yes, that was another puberty igniting cartoon, if memories. I remember Darren telling me that I think as a young man, maybe one of his first tentative wanks might have been to She-Ra, Princess of Power, and Sabrina Siani would be a perfect, again, one for our AI film studio.
Right.
Go back and do a live action She-Ra with Sabrina Siani. Is it just me? Is the music during the end credits basically the theme tune for Your Eyes Only, but in a slightly different order? Like only your eyes. Like it's very close. And For Your Eyes Only is what, 81? Something like that. So I reckon the end theme to this is, of all things, a rip-off of For Your Eyes Only.
I did like too that at one point Ator has this kind of like Perseus out of Clash of the Titans mirror shield that he uses, right? And then he uses it to kind of direct sunlight into the eyes of the giant spider, which reminded me when I was in school, like as a teenager in Canada, like the kids would use their watches and kind of deliberately try to blind the teacher by like directing this little spot of like.
Was your teacher a giant spider?
Surprisingly, no, it wasn't.
Because I was going to say, because that's the other thing.
He was an old English gentleman.
He used to burn ants, right, with mirrors, and I remember burning some insects as a child with a mirror and a magnifying glass. You did this, right?
I don't think I did that. No, Clive. Although I just yesterday.
You didn't put salt on slugs?
I might have, you know what, now you say that, I might have done that. But I did.
None of us are innocent. We've all spilled blood, Nick.
Just yesterday, I actually learned at that convention, that outdoor education convention, I learned how to use a magnifying glass to burn my name. To burn my name into a piece of wood. And it was quite amazing to me that within seconds, it was like etching in black.
Did you not do that as a child?
No.
Gav, you must have had fun with a magnifying glass when you were a kid. Did you burn things? Oh, he's quiet. I'm wondering if we've uncovered some pyromania. Can you hear us? Are you losing?
Yeah, you break up a bit. Okay.
Right. So from Ator to Ator. Yes. The Blade Master.
Yes.
Miles O'Keefe is back.
Yep.
Sadly, Sabrina Siani is not.
But it's all right. She'll be along soon enough and topless in whatever 2020
she was
Texas Yes, but 2020 Texas Gladiators, which we're talking about soon.
Yeah, so she was replaced by also not bad looking, to be fair, Lisa Foster.
Not at all.
Who a star of the 1982 version of Fanny Hill.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And went on to be some sort of VFX maestro, I believe. He worked on some big films later on. Yeah, so here we go, Blade Master.
So Caligula is in this. For some reason I didn't realize this because he looks so much more like Freddie Mercury.
He borrowed Edmund Purdam's wig.
That's wig, I know, from the last film, and mustache.
Edmund was out of here. He's like, I'm sorry, dear boy, I have to go and make this Killer Santa film for Dick Randall. Yeah. So he lent his sweaty wig and mustache to David Brandon.
And then Charles Borromel, also from the Caligula film, plays Lisa Foster's dad, right? The kind of the very passive aggressive pacifist old guy who's
yeah, he's the what was the druid in Asterix?
Getafix.
Yeah, he's like the Getafix of this film, right? And he's created some sort of, I still don't know what the fuck it is. He's created some sort of super weapon, which I guess according to the end credits might be the atomic bomb.
Yeah, he split the atom somehow.
Yes. He got there way before that Einstein fella. Yeah, so
oh, did you not see the Oppenheimer film? There was a section that
was Charles Borromel in it.
Yes, where they did a nod towards how, yeah, in ancient times,
right,
Charles Borromel first split the atom, but that knowledge was lost. The burning of the land of Alexandria, I think.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure hang gliding wasn't a thing back then either.
Yeah, especially one with like an aluminium frame. Yeah, like, yeah, that was a bit of a cheeky fucking kind of moment. Right? Like, they didn't even at least like cover it in like some animal hide or
rattan
would,
like
yeah, make it look as if maybe it had been made, but no, this one's fresh from the outdoor goods shop, right? Yeah. But so they've swapped, it's not spiders, it's snakes for this one, right? The snake god, and there's like a briefly seen giant snake, which again isn't bad. At least you kind of see it. So it's snakes instead of spiders. We'd get a handy previously on ATOR.
Last week on The Adventures of ATOR.
To get you up to speed. But yeah, no, this one.
So what happened to his stepsister, by the way? So she's just gone with, like, she's hand waved away. ATOR's and then where's Little Bear? Also hand waved away.
Little Bear's gone. Yeah, I fear for the little bear.
And now instead we've got Kiro Uehara as Thong. Yes, his Asian sidekick / trainer, whatever, he's working out on some sort of solo flex thing made with like ropes and rocks, right? And Thong is there putting him through his paces.
You want to hang out with that Thong because he's great crack.
Nice.
Thank you.
Yeah. So then the daughter, she ends up running away after David Brandon shows up as Zor. Zor is our villain, right?
Yes.
He takes Borromel captive. Daughter runs away, finds ATOR, who then gives her this test. He locks her in a cage, and there's a great scene where there's a suit of armor. And Miles O'Keefe just reaches over as though there is some sort of dial or something on it that will cause this thing to close down. And there's clearly nothing there. He just goes like, in the air. It's awesome. They didn't even glue something on to give you the impression that he was. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. No, there's a lot of they kind of gave up a little bit halfway through this one, didn't they? Like, fuck, let's just have a hang glider's seed and an A bomb. I'll do. Let's go home. I think they gave up halfway through this one, right? Like,
right.
I don't know. We'll find out if they got a second wind with Iron Warrior and Quest of the Mighty Sword. But yeah, this one, I mean, the first one wasn't brilliant, but oddly enough, the parallels, there's very much the Conan the Destroyer to the Conan the Barbarian, right?
Yeah, except where's Carlo Rambaldi when you need him? At least Conan the Destroyer has some pretty good monster effects work, but yeah, not much of that here.
As for a non-muscle man barbarian movie fan, Gav, was there a distinction for you between this and the other one, or were they both just equally as dull for you, or could you?
No, I thought the first one was much better than this. I mean, this this one was a bit heavy going. Yeah. But I'm glad I avoided this one in the VHS days, to be honest.
Yeah, no, it's pretty thin gruel, this one.
Nello Pazzafini, who is an old friend of yours and mine, Clive, shows up in this, which was nice to see.
Well, Nello. He was
There's
in the previous film
always
as well.
room for Nello.
He was in the previous film, but a smaller part, right?
Oh, okay. He's in the original ATOR.
I was just looking. I actually wrote down for the first ATOR. It is worth mentioning. What a cast, right? Miles O'Keefe, Sabrina Siani, Daka, Laura Gemser, Edmund Purdom, Nello Pacific. When you list it like that, that's pretty impressive, right? That's like, yeah. I mean, even Steven Soderbergh would struggle to get all those celebrities
in one
film. Yeah. An Ocean's film with all of those. Okay, right. So I guess we leave ATOR behind.
There is a line that I think is very important in this film, though.
Oh, okay.
At which it's again, I think David Brandon is really trying. He's doing a lot of this kind of camp, the master kind of stuff, right, as in his villainous role. And at one point he just reaches over and he touches ATOR on the nipple for some reason, and he says, "The line between goodness and stupidity is very, very fine." And I thought that's a pretty good tagline for this film.
Yeah. You can learn a lot from Zor. Yeah, so let's jump into the far-flung future of 2020.
Did you notice that nobody was socially distancing at all? I would have thought
disgraceful
but then I realized, it's fucking 2020 Texas Gladiators. So of course they're not socially distancing or masking.
Don't give a shit. No.
No, it's all about freedom down there in Texas.
In fact, as the Finnish title of this film, Texas versus 2000 is what this film was called in Finland.
They were more concerned about Y2K, I'm guessing, than COVID.
So here we go, 2020 Texas Gladiators. Again, recorded with our old friend George Eastman. And now we're in, so again, poor Joe, right? He's ripped off left, right, and center. Not, John Milius has just ripped him off wholesale. And now that ne'er-do-well George Miller.
Oh, that plagiarist.
Yeah, I can't believe he still has a career. And being all clever, smart ass about it as well, by like going back in time and doing it
back to 79.
Yeah, like that's not fair, George. Like, anyway, so yes, we're in Mad Max territory. Except, so I have to say, 2020. I mean, obviously, this is a whole subgenre into its own. The Italian Mad Max post-apoc rip-off. I mean, countless titles, but this one really leans into the Western of it.
Oh yeah, it's a straight up spaghetti Western with kind of science fiction trappings, but really, I mean, a few of the Warriors of the Wasteland, the Castellari one also does have a whole scene at the end where it just has the fistful of dollars, that bit where he's got the armor underneath the poncho.
So Westerns are obviously part of the Mad Max DNA, but this really front and center in this one. After we get in a nice introduction scene of some nuns being raped and a priest being crucified, which is a good way to start your film. I always like a bit.
I did feel this was a bit of a bait and switch, though. I felt like the science fiction, like post-apocalyptic trappings, were really full on in this opening scene, and then it kind of backs off. And for a while, I was like, it just looked like it was set in 1982, until again some biker mutant zombie kind of guys show up. But that opening scene where everyone's shirtless and sweaty and mutated and fucked up seemed like it was more.
Our heroes, Al Cliver, Peter Hooton, and Harrison Mueller, who wait, and Al Yamanuchi, who of course wait for all the nuns to be raped first before stepping in.
They are social, so that's just social distancing.
Oh, right, okay, because it's
make sure the COVID's not too rampant in there before they head in.
Right, and they do yeah, the nun gets raped, but they stop short of Sabrina Siani being raped by Daniel Stephen of Warbus fame, who is then exiled from this little gang, and of course,
Yes, sure, all shirtless. I do like the fact that they're all of them are very sweaty and shirtless in this opening. They're the Rangers, right? So he's Rapey Ranger, which is one of the lesser known Power Rangers.
Right. It's just a shame they weren't riding horses. But and he will hold a grudge, and he will come back later with his motorcycle gang, right? Because
his name is Catchdog. They all have
yeah, that's a hell of a name.
They have they all have ridiculous names. Harrison Mueller plays Jab. Al Cliver plays Nissus.
What's Peter Hooton's got a good
Peter Hooton says Halacron.
Yeah.
So apparently by 2020, names in Texas have become ridiculous. Which actually may well be true. That could be a historical fact.
Halacron does sound like a transformer.
It does very much. Oh, and then of course, don't forget Donald O'Brien shows up fresh after sadly having smashed his head and been in a coma for 3 weeks or whatever. So you can see that he's had that kind of stroke type of stuff, because when he smiles and stuff, he's got the kind of
he's tremendous. Again, poor bloke, but he's tremendously ugly in this film, isn't he?
Well, as I said, he literally he nearly died, I think, earlier this year, the year this thing's made. So yeah.
If Donald Pleasance had a Belial, it would be Donald O'Brien.
Yes. Yes, I think that's you nailed the head there, Clive.
I think that's fair to say. So fast forward after they rescue Siani from being raped. Fast forward to Al Cliver's
5 years later.
They got a little kid, and they've built some sort of, I don't know what it is. There's some
steam factory. The factory that produced steam, I think.
Yeah. Endless amount of steam to get them through the day. So Daniel Stevens' Catchdog has teamed up with Ugly O'Brien's fascists.
Neo-fascists, yes.
And they step in to overthrow Roe versus Wade and make life horrible for the ranchers, Shane style, right? And there's a little bit of deer hunter as well. They were like, we have ripped off enough movies. Let's throw in some Russian roulette stuff.
I quite liked again how this in no way rips off the scene where little feral kid throws the thing and it hits Goldenrod guy on the back of Vernon Wells' motorcycle in the head. It's literally exactly recreated with Al Cliver shooting the girlfriend, Catchdog's girlfriend in the head on the motorbike.
And there's a man who runs a salt mine who pisses in the drinking water.
A drinking piss gag was something I was surprised to see in Italian. It's very, I'm well used to it in Taiwanese cinema, but this was new to me in Italian cinema.
That said, right, unfortunately, I don't know, I'm interested to see how you felt about this one, YouTube. I have to admit, this one was very much less than the sum of its parts. Like, this should have been a really good, fun, trashy Mad Max ripoff, but I have to admit I found it quite boring for the majority of its running time when Sabrina Siani wasn't on screen. How did you both? What did you? Well, obviously, you're not a fan of Gladiator, Muscle Man films, Gav. How do you get on with the Mad Max ripoff post-apocalyptic? Is this more your scene?
No, it wasn't too bad. I do think it was sort of does give the impression it was like being thrown together very quickly, and like especially how Al Cleaver sort of disappears about 40 minutes into the film, completely.
Yeah. You don't expect that. To be fair, that's quite that does throw you for a loop. I'm wondering if he had some urgent carpentry he had to run off and do, so he managed to get himself off the film.
He does go out with a sort of red, brown, sort of yellow, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Yes.
It does seem to me to this day a bit of a shame that we never did get the celebrity carpentry face-off between him and Harrison Ford that I think everyone
yeah.
would have tuned in to watch, right? Like a bake-off kind of thing, but with wood. Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree. I think it's you know, there's a few things that jumped out that I enjoyed, but overall, yeah, very much.
Rose. Oh, there he is again. Okay, good.
Yeah, very much less than the sum of its parts, as you said. There is a girl who wears a nice like peekaboo kind of top. She's one of our bad girl you know, whatever they are, warriors of the wasteland figures. But yeah, there's not much to recommend this, I don't think.
Yeah.
Sam?
Missed out on another missed opportunity. We never did get our Mattel line of 2020 Texas Gladiator toys.
Yes.
Ed Cliver, Sabrina Ciani, fight!
Although
Fight in the future, Texas versus the year 2000. I can kind of see the ads running
right
between He-Man cartoons now, right?
There is a
I can see a little Al Cliver action figure with a beard and a little kid, like, and a Donald O'Brien one. You will die, you ugly fucker! Because it's worth mentioning as well that again, they start off allowing everyone to be raped before they step in. And then there's the scene where Al Cliver takes out Catch Dog's maul on the back of his bike, like a fucking gunshot to the head.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh, dude, that's no way to kiss and make up, right? That's not going to make things better. He's clearly going to come back with all his other Kawasaki riding friends. It's not exactly an olive branch, unless it's an olive branch, a sharpened olive branch in the eye. You know. Hey, that's another one for the. Has anyone ever done that in a film? Someone extends the olive branch piece and then they poke someone in the eye with it.
No. So yeah, write that down. Remember that.
Well,
there is a nice arcade where everyone's playing very retro looking games for 2020.
Oh, that was quite cool. I like that mix. Yeah.
And
then saloon. It's like a saloon, isn't it? But it also has like Space Invaders or something. Yeah.
Yeah. And there's a voiceover that's obviously been created for the movie for one of the games where they keep mentioning Megaforce, like Megaforce 3 sighted by Starship. But I'm assuming not a reference to the incredible did Hal Needham make that?
He did.
Hal Needham, wow.
He got full use of a quarry for a weekend. And they shot.
And the Bee Gees, or no, it's Barry Bostwick, right? Who does a lot of.
Yeah. Next year we're doing all the Hal Needham films.
Oh, good. And also this one has a bunch of Apaches, maybe, or something.
Oh yes,
another weird.
Forgot to mention. How could we mention the indigenous Americans who are still? Yeah, it's weird. It's like time has gone back, so they've gone through their oppressed and living on you know, small patches of land afforded them as long as they run casinos, back to a time where before the settlers came, I guess.
Yes.
It's a weird, I don't quite know how this works, but yes, Donald
O'Brien's response is pretty great because he's really like, when he's like, fuck it, what? Like yeah, he's really upset to see them suddenly ride out of the wilderness with their bows and arrows, which apparently, again, there's a little it's the David Lynch version of Dune. Well, maybe it's in the book as well, where like the shields that can be penetrated only by like the slow blade. This kind of thing where like they got these shields, but like because bullets are hot, they can't penetrate these shields, but they have big fuck off holes in the middle, which apparently is very easy to shoot an arrow through because arrows are cold. This is what I took. I mean, this is my understanding of what.
Yeah, it's all scientifically correct, I believe. I mean, I didn't look into it, but I just take it for granted that RSTD MSHS is on top of all of this stuff.
Probably not worth mentioning, but Peter Hooton, who plays one of our guys, best known for having been the original Doctor Strange in the, shitty like early 80s, late 70s Bill Bixby era Marvel
in this film, he was giving me slight, like, I think he was cast because he's a little bit like James Remar.
Yeah.
He's got that kind of thing about him, like James Remar Warriors or something like that.
Yeah.
I actually quite like Peter Hooton. There's something about Peter Hooton that's it's a shame he didn't kind of have a bigger career in a way. I think he could have. He's got something a little bit Peter Weller about him as well. Like anyway, that's enough.
Yeah. Not an essential Joe D'Amato film. I think we can all agree.
No, it's not up there with Caligula.
Not even an essential Italian ripoff of Mad Max film. Wouldn't be in my top 5.
No, and weirdly, just to give an idea of quite how wrong-headed we are, I think we probably all prefer Orgasmo Esotico to 20.
Maybe,
I think most kind of right-headed video renters would have rather taken this home for the night than Orgasmo Esotico, right? But they'd be wrong. And yeah. So finally on the docket, thank fuck, we got there in the end. Is Emmanuelle's Perverse Outburst from 1983.
I think you mispronounced that. It's Emmanuelle's Reheated Leftovers. Is what it is.
Yes. So I don't know if this was, I assume, because this is we watched this again, this is on the Sensual World of Black Emmanuelle box set version. There's a fucking HD version of this. What do you think of that? And with a commentary track.
With commentary track.
Yeah.
Did you listen to that? Did you listen? I didn't have a chance to listen to the commentary.
I listened to some of it. It was okay.
Okay.
Gav, did you listen to the commentary track all the way through?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Did you learn anything?
Yeah, it's quite interesting. Yeah, it seems it must have been sort of made for that French video market. Seems to be.
Yes, I think so. That makes sense. That's why it's in the French dub, right? And well, there you go. You can fill in any gaps if we miss anything out, because, well, it's basically, as far as I can tell, it's footage from Black Cobra, Porno Esotico Love, which was already a kind of Black Cobra rehash, bit of Emmanuelle and the Last Cannibals, a bit of Emmanuelle and the White Slave Trade, and a little bit of Exotic Malice. So Mark Shannon and his cock turn up. So it's a grab bag of scenes with a new dub, which has Laura Gemza as more of a spy than an investigative reporter, it seems. And there's some microfilm, and maybe George Eastman is a Russian spy. And you get to see that bit where they eat snake meat again in a market from Black
the third or fourth time. Also,
I really like that scene, right?
Also, the scene with the hand massagers, the Hong Kong back. I think is this the third or fourth time I have now seen this bit of footage.
I mean, if you've seen any of these films, you don't need to watch Emmanuelle's Perverse Outburst. I don't think. If you haven't seen those films, probably watch those films instead of watching Emmanuelle's Perverse Outburst. I mean, it's a fascinating artifact just to consider that it was made this kind of total rip-off cash-in for the French market. But
it reminds me of those like episodes of TV series where it's like near the end of the season or whatever, they don't have money, so they're like, oh, let's have the main character go into a coma, and then we'll just show clips from previous episodes. You know, like there was something.
Yes, Derek Anus is in a coma, so he's remembering the previous 5 episodes.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, what's to say? I mean, Gav, what did the, because if they got a commentary, because I listened to it 15 minutes the commentary track, and I thought, oh, are they going to say anything other than this is from that. So did there were any interesting tidbits that you learnt?
Well, just point out an interesting thing. Like, it's sort of like the nicest parts of these films. It's not like you know, the sort of spares you a lot of the gore and a lot of the, you know, the animal violence and stuff like that. But yeah, sort of, yeah, I don't know. You don't really need to see it if you've seen the actual thing in footage of the films. And even like the exotic malice, they sort of cut around the whole sort of, you know, the whole sort of penis needs to be chopped off some sort. So,
Yeah. There's no dead father spirit in a glass jar.
No, hold on, yeah.
No, you're quite right, actually. Yeah, it doesn't have the more extreme footage from.
I was hoping that we would see Tinty having his ass raked by that snake for a third time. I was disappointed that we didn't come back to.
You were getting ready with. You had your tissue box in hand.
Exactly. Yeah. No,
I mean,
it
it is an odd. I mean, clearly, I don't know whose idea it was, but I don't even know if. I'm guessing not. I'm guessing it wasn't Joe D'Amato who actually put it together, right? It would have been some random French person.
That's what I'm thinking. Yeah, yeah. That's,
I doubt.
Is it really a Joe D'Amato film? Really? I mean, it's funny that he all directed, but
yeah.
My suspicion is something that's French. It could be the put together.
Maybe Jess Franco's behind his revenge for the two Joe D'Amato films that he made with him. Fuck you, Joe.
Well, there's like almost like a 6 degrees of separation thing where like I realized, oh, now that they've included a piece of footage of Ange, now they can include a piece of footage of like, you know, Mark Shannon. It was like they'd introduce characters and then okay, well, we've now established that Gabrielle Tinty has been in a scene with Ange, you know, for that, and so that, you know, it's just a kind of building on where you get further and further away from the original. Yeah.
When Mark Shannon enters the film, it does go off in a totally different direction for a while, right? Yeah, because if you think about it, if you did have all this footage at your fingertips, it's interesting to consider how many different versions of this you could have had an EMANUELLE'S outburst 2, 3, 4, right? Where you just massage the footage slightly differently, and there's a lot of misinformation on that. Like, I think those are the 5 films that it took footage from, but there's some other places online that say that there's footage from Erotic Nights of the Living Dead and Emmanuel in Bangkok, which I don't think there is. And even someplace I've read, they say, unless there's a different version, that they added hardcore inserts, but not in the version we saw, right?
Right.
Which seems, I would guess, this is pretty complete, right? I think this is how it went out.
I wondered if the soundtrack was new though, because I didn't recognize
it. New, yeah,
or
at least ripped off from somewhere else. Yeah,
but it's not bad. Although sometimes it feels like it's a bit too adrenal soaked for like porn. Like it feels like it's like they thought they were doing some sort of tense thriller, and so sometimes the music doesn't quite line up with the action. But also, this really struck me as and I'm the only person who gives a shit about this at all. But it's a French dub, right? But there was at least 1 or 2 voice actors that I knew very well who normally dub English for Italian cinema.
Oh, okay.
Because they were very recognizable dubbing, but I didn't know. Obviously, their French was good enough that they were drafted in to do like.
Was the guy who does Edmund Purdam's voice sometimes? Was he in there? I'm sure I heard him in one of these films.
Possibly, but like the one that struck me was actually, you know, her boss at the newspaper.
Yes.
Right. Whoever was dubbing him is an absolutely bog standard Italian, like English Italian dubber, but obviously he's competent enough in French that they had him do French. So that was weird to think about the dubbing industry in Italy. So did they always have control? Like, because obviously they did the in-house, the English dubs. They weren't farmed out outside of Italy. So did they also do the German dubs and the French dubs in Italy?
I will file that under fucked if I know.
Okay.
Yeah. So anyway, I think we should bring our own perverse outburst to an end. Because that's got to be about 2.5 hours of meaty Jordan Amato goodness once again. Yeah, we'll be back because there's a lot more to get through. We're about halfway through. So, yep, a few more perverse outbursts coming your way. How are you guys feeling at the halfway point? You still have the stamina?
Press on, I suppose.
Yeah, I figure at this point, if you're halfway there, you're halfway home. So I
That's
to turn around and walk back would be equal to just finishing out to the finish line at this point, right? This marathon. Yeah.
We might as well see it through to the bitter, and it will be a bitter
the dregs
end. Yeah. I think sadly, we may have eked quality-wise, but you never know. There might be a few goodies. Anyway, right, we'll find out next time. Onward and downward. The D'Amato Files continues. Yay.
Way down deep in the middle of the Congo, a hippo took an every caught the grover and the mango. He stuck it with the others and he danced a dingy tango. The rhino said, I know, we'll call it Umbango. Umbango, the drink it in the Congo. Python picked the passion from the mama, said the mandarin. The parrot painted bandits got the hunk of voodoo land it is. So when it comes to sun and fun and goodness in the jungle, they all prefer the sunny, funny one they call Umbango.
Libby's Umbango. High juice drinks, free from artificial ingredients.